What's up, guys? Carly and Zach here again for Bet On in MMA. We're here to break down this weekend's UFC Fight Night card. Andrade versus Blanchfield. Um, Not the biggest names on the card. Not the most uh, appealing card on paper, but yeah, got a few decent matchups here. Uh, and we cooked up a bunch of different parlays here, man. We'll get into that later. So you guys definitely want to stick around to the end of the video to see what we got in store for you as far as the parlays. We're confident in our picks and in all of our parlays. So like I said, stick around to the end of the video and see what we got coming up for you. Um, Before we get started, all we ask again that you like and subscribe. Uh, like the video and subscribe up to our YouTube channel. Want to send a shout out to everybody who tuned into our last episode. That was by far the best episode we've done as far as numbers. We appreciate all of you guys uh, continuing to follow us and support us, and we look forward to continue to doing this for you. What you got, Zach? Before we get into it.
Yeah, before we start, man, there's a lot. The what we do is provide insight on fights, and there's a lot of other channels coming up doing the same thing. Um, with Harley, he's been around the fight game most of his life. He manages fighters, he's been in gyms, he's been in fights, all that stuff. So he knows what he's looking at from a different perspective rather than just a fan watching. And then when it comes to me, I've been around it my whole life. I've actually fought amateur and professionally. So we're giving you real good insight. We're not just people who just watch fights and, are saying shit. So, yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, we look forward to continuing do what we doing, man. Um, like I said, just spread the word for us, guys. That's all we ask. All we ask, spread the word for us, and get those views up for us.
No doubt, no doubt. So we're gonna kick this card off with the first fight. We have Juancamilo Ronderos versus Clayton Carpenter.
Yeah, man. I'm going with Clayton Carpenter by a dominant decision victory, or maybe a late stoppage. He's very, very, very well rounded. Um, and I want to emphasize that because he can do it all. He's got uh, growing up, he had legit amateur boxing experience. Then he did. Then what else did he do, Zach? Uh,
He did pancration, a lot of grappling too.
Pancration. Yeah, that's what it was. Big pancration tournaments, a lot of grappling tournaments. So the guy can do it all. Literally, high young prospect. You know, I don't want to sound cliche. We say that a lot. Of people say that a lot of times about fighters. You know, Clayton still hasn't fought in a big show yet. Obviously, this is officially his UFC debut. But man, the guy. I mean, as far as um, his resume up to this point, I mean, he's got a decorated resume for sure. Um, uh, he's like I mentioned already. He's got legit amateur boxing experience, pancration, and grappling experience as well. Um, I see his stand up being the difference in this one, but he can certainly get it to the ground if he needs to. Um, uh, I see him using his reach and landing big shots. Um, Randeros wings a lot of shots on the feet, so I think that's gonna leave leave Randeros open for a lot of counters. And I think Carpenter will be able to capitalize on that, man. I see him landing some big counter shots, catching them, definitely hurting them. If I had to lean towards it, I'd probably go decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if Carpenter's able to get him out of there at some point. So definitely confident in Clayton Carpenter in this one.
No doubt. No relation to Clay Guido, right?
No,
All right.
no.
All
He
right.
might
So
be a Clay might be his distant uncle, but not that I know.
gotcha. Step cousin. All right. So we got Ronderos. He's 4-1. As a pro, we got Carpenter 6-0 as a pro. Not a lot of experience with both of them. They both had about similar amateur MMA fights, but like Harley touched up on, Clay's been doing a lot more than just amateur MMA. He has boxing, pancration. So he's been doing it. He has more amateur experience than Ronderos. Ronderos didn't really fight anybody up until he fought Eric Shelton. Eric Shelton's a really good fighter. Probably should be in the UFC right now. He has a split decision win over him, so that's something I have to respect. Clay Carpenter probably fought better opposition in the pros. But with that being said, Ronderos has already been in the UFC. He took his fight on 1 day's notice. So if you look at his fight with David Dvorak, don't put too much into it because he took it literally on 24 hours notice. And if you're wondering why he hasn't fought in about a year, he tested positive for cocaine for that fight. So that kind of lets you know what I'm saying? The guy likes to party. He likes to fight. He likes to train. But when you look at a guy like Clay, he's more of a martial artist. He takes his shit serious. He's like all the way in. A guy like Ronderos is always scrappy. You got to be careful. But I see Clay being the more well-rounded, cleaner fighter. Not saying
Yeah,
Ronderos can't
maybe.
catch him wildly, but I think Clay is just a little too much, too technical for him everywhere.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you mentioned Rangeros lost to David Dvorak. I mean, he ain't no slouch, you know.
Nope.
Um, so, you know, I mean, yeah, Dvorak dominated him, but hey, Dvorak's gonna dominate a few guys.
Yeah, I would like, we have different parlays when it comes to this. Spoiler alert, we're not gonna have Clay in our lock parlay. He would be a lock for me, but first fight in the UFC, you're fighting a guy who took a fight on 1 day's notice, so we don't really know what he's bringing, you know what I'm saying? But from the tell of the tape on the footage, we got Clay for sure.
And now, do you have Clay stopping him or about?
I say sub if he does.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving up the card, we got a hometown guy, and before we go to this pick, we wouldn't give you this pick. We look at this fight from an unbiased standpoint, even though, we a little biased. But if we were to see something that we didn't like, we wouldn't give you out this pick. We just say, we're biased on this. We're not gonna give you this. But we see a clear path to victory for our guy AJ Fletcher facing on UFC debut Themba Gorimbo. What you got on this fight?
Yeah, man. First of all, shout out to AJ Fletcher. Look, man, I know he hadn't got on off to the right foot, off on the right foot in his UFC career so far. Um, had two tough fights, but man, like, look, the guy's putting on for an area. Um, like you mentioned already in the intro to this fight right here. Um, he's literally from our area. You live in Lafayette, so you right there. The guy trains in Lafayette. Um, I've seen AJ in the gym. You know, I've been around him in the gym. It's been a while, but I was able to, be in the gym with him a little bit earlier in his career. The guy's a hard worker. Guy's a great athlete. Um, Super proud of that guy for just putting on for this area, man. With that being said, we definitely, like you said, we might be a little more biased for AJ, but we did break down this fight, and we both see AJ getting the win. Um, but besides this, we pulling for AJ Day, man. So I really hope that he goes out and puts on for the boot. With that being said, I'm going with AJ by KO, man. He's the better athlete. He's fought better opposition. Yes, he's on two in the UFC, but he's fought twice in the UFC. Plus that devastating knockout of the contender series. So you could maybe call it three fights if you want to. I see him. Um, I see him catching Gamma on the feet and getting the finish, man. He could use his wrestling if he needs as well, but I don't think he'll need to. Like I said, he's got his wrestling in his back pocket if he needs to, but I just see him catching the guy with a big shot and putting his lights out, man.
Right.
And finally getting the weight column in the UFC.
Yeah, man. You broke down a lot of AJ, so I'm gonna give some insight on Gorimbo. He's coming from UFC, and his last fight was maybe like a year ago. When it comes to a guy like Themba, he's dangerous off of his back. he's gonna throw up submissions like triangles, arm bars. But he's got a lot of wins by that, you know, outside the UFC. But when you get to the UFC, you're not seeing a lot of armbar finishes, triangle finishes, unless you hurt the guy. You know what I'm saying? At that level, guys know how to defend that. When I'm looking at the takedown defense, he does do a couple things that I don't like hanging around the head, and that can cost him. Striking, he has a lot of reach, but he's not a guy that possesses a lot of power. He's more of like a workhorse grinder, gonna grind you out. And I think, making your UFC debut, you're making it against a guy like AJ. AJ got 6 hard rounds in the UFC already. A guy like Matt Simmelsberger, who was already winning, that's your first fight, and you did damn good against him. A guy like Ange Loosen, you could have any different referee might have stopped that. You know what I'm saying? That might be a
Yeah,
win. You feel me? So you might look at it as 2 losses, but it's not bad losses. He's not getting worked over.
no,
You know, that's 6 rounds of good experience in the UFC versus a guy who hasn't been there yet. And when I look at Themba's record, he got knocked out by Dave Mazzani. Dave Mazzani's been a guy like kind of on the regional scene that couldn't quite make it to the UFC. He's losing to a guy like that. So that kind of lets me know, you know what I mean? I see AJ getting on the inside, we're in the apex, cage is smaller, cutting them off, and either securing a takedown or getting on the inside, knocking them out. I'm leaning more towards the KO though.
yeah, same here, and I'm glad you mentioned that, and we'll move on right after this. But AJ can easily be 2-0 in the UFC. You know, like you said, he dominated Simmonsburg in the first round. Dominated Simmonsburg in the first round. Second round was winning that fight too. I think it was second round, and he
Yeah,
ended up getting swept. Swept by midway towards the back half of the round. If he don't get swept, he wins the fight. Uh, and then you look at the Orange Looser fight. He had him hurt bad. He had him on stage, and like you said, any other referee could have called a halt to the fight. So, yeah, he's on paper, he's over, but it could easily be flipped. And I think this is going to get AJ going right here.
for
So
sure.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, moving up the card, we have Ovince St. Preux facing on Philip Lins at 205.
Yeah. Before I start this fight, um, shout out to Ovince St. Preux, man. Uh, if you're somewhat familiar with MMA, everybody knows OSP is an OG. OSP's been around the block. And Pride, you know, uh, been in the UFC a long time. Fought the who's who, with just a true veteran of the sport. A lot of respect for OSP. Um, with that being said, I'm going with Lance by decision. He's just a couple, they're both older, but he's a couple years younger. He's a little more explosive, uh, with good power, good grappling as well. He's been much better, at least in the UFC, since moving down to light heavyweight. OSP's on the back half of his career. I see I see Lance getting the win with his stand up, man. Like I said, OSP is on the back half of his career. Lance isn't a spring chicken either, but I just see him having a speed advantage. He's got a little more pop. If you look at OSP's fight versus Shogun, yeah, OSP did get that victory, but it was a very slow paced fight. Uh, you know, very slow pace, not much action. You know, it's kind of a stalemate. I feel like if Lance could push the pace on him early on, I think that'll benefit him. I think he can make it an uglier fight and catch OSP with a couple good shots. I did mention that Lance has good ground game, but OSP does as well. So if he can mix in some takedowns, I think that'd be a good route for OSP. I do see a path to victory in this fight for OSP for sure. I'm not writing him off, but I see Lance' stand up being a little more crisp, a little more explosive, and that getting him the victory over OSP.
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, we have like 2 fights on the card where it's like, it's close, super close. And this was probably the toughest fight to pick. These guys were scheduled to fight, I think, late last year. For whatever reason, didn't happen. OSP has been trying to get a fight. A lot of fights canceled on him. But yeah, both these guys used to fight at heavyweight, dropping down to 205. Lins was a really good prospect. He won the PFL title and then, signed to the UFC. And ever since he's been in the UFC, he's been kind of struggling to get his groove. OSP, like you touched on, man fought everybody in the division, beat a lot of good guys, and only lost to the best. But with that being said, OSP has the ability to make people fight at his pace. He might not have the highest output, but he definitely slows the fight down. Lins in his last fight showed that, like, he has wrestling in his back pocket if he needs it. But I see OSP being too much of a vet, stuffing those takedowns, keeping him on the end of his reach, and just, doing just enough. Do I think this fight's going to be a burner? Probably not. They're probably going to be trying to figure each other out. But, if Lins does win, it won't surprise me. You know what I'm saying? This is almost close to even fight for me. But I'm going with the underdog, OSP.
That'll work. That'll work. But I'm confident in Lynn, so we'll see.
No doubt. Moving up the card, we have Jamal Emmers. And we've been waiting on this guy for a long time. I'm not gonna butcher his first name, but Askhabov. What do we have on this one?
Yeah, man. Like you said, been waiting on this guy for a long time, and he's finally here. I'm going with Askhabov by decision. Could be a competitive fight, but I see Askhabov getting into the ground and getting it done. His ground games are different for me in this one, obviously. Um, just a really good wrestler, man. He can strike too, but I don't see um you I don't see Emmers being able to stop his taking her. Jamal's got some good wrestling experience as well, but I just feel like uh, Askhabov is going to be at a different level. So I think that'll be the difference. I see Askhabov winning by decision.
No doubt. So a lot of people are high on Askhabov, but let me talk about my man Jamal Emmers right quick. You look at the
Yeah,
background,
Jamal ain't no slouch, by the way. Yeah.
right? Jamal, this ain't a gimme fight, for Askhabov. Jamal brings it. I mean, he has wins over Corey Sandhagen. That was at 45. Sandhagen now fights at 35, but he's beat Corey Sandhagen by decision. Not a lot of people have did that. Split decision versus Giga Chikadze. I thought it was this unanimous, but still you have a split over Giga. You might have lost, but split decision. Not a bad loss there. And he does have a win in the UFC, so you gotta put some respect on Jamal Emmer's name. With that being said, we have Askhabov, one of the few fighters that, are 23-0 outside of the UFC. So no brainer for the UFC to sign this kid. They actually been trying to sign him, but from my understanding, he lived in Ukraine. We all know what's going on out there. So tough to get him over to the States, but now he is in the States training at it. Probably one of the best gyms, American top team. So he's seen the best guys on a daily basis. The only thing that worries me about Askhabov is you see his resume. He's fighting up until his last 4 or 5 fights. He's fighting guys with not too good of a record, but he's doing what he's supposed to. He's getting these guys out in the first round, and I can't wait to see him against a really true test against Emmers, and I think he passes with flying colors. And I'm gonna go ahead and get him by submission.
Okay. Yeah. I can see that, but I just Emmers is a good fighter. He's tough. So that's why I'm going. I'm definitely going to Askhabov, but that's why I'm going to see. You know.
And look, if there's like, oh my God, upset, what I'm saying? This is gonna be the one, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. I
All
agree.
right, moving up the card, we got Lina Lansberg versus Mayra Bueno Silva.
I'm going with Mano Bueno Silva. I see her getting to the ground and having her way. She's got good striking as well. That's really her specialty. But I just see Silva having her way on the ground. No disrespect to Lansberg, but she kind of looks a little lost on the ground, step behind, if you would say. And uh, Bueno Silva, man, she got some submissions, albeit off her back. Um, so I don't know if she'll get a sub off her back. She got a really good arm bar, so I mean, hey, if she catches Lansberg in an arm bar, that wouldn't surprise me. But I just see Bueno Silva initiating the ground game in this fight. Um, getting some by I got Bueno Silva by submission. I'm not gonna call it a submission, but I got her winning by submission.
No doubt. Yeah,
And hey, if she does catch her in an arm bar for some reason, that wouldn't surprise me.
so Lansberg, you know what I'm saying, primarily known for her striking. She came in as a striker. And like you said, she's been losing on the ground, but like she hasn't been getting submitted. She's been losing decisions or getting ground and pounded. When you look at Bueno Silva, she's getting subs off of her back when people are taking her down. So that's interesting to me because Bueno Silva, she does have good stand up, Lansberg,
Mm-hmm.
stand up. So it could turn into a striking fight, but I think ultimately Silva closes the distance, gets it to the ground. You know, there's a game plan on how to beat Lansberg is get her to the ground. But I don't think the gap is that far from with Silva and Lansberg. Like I think Silva could strike with Lansberg in my opinion, if she wants to.
Oh yeah, definitely. You saying Silva could strike with Lansberg?
Right.
Yeah, yo,
So
100%.
I
Yeah, she
think
got the
I
yeah,
think one thing that to look out for, Lansberg is gonna be a lot bigger. But still I still think Silva gets it to the ground either by decision or ground and pound. And
yeah, man.
she's a lock for sure.
Yeah. Before we move on, you mentioned Silva being able to strike with Lansberg. Silva's got a lot of striking experience, man.
Right.
She's got a background in that. So yeah, definitely. Um, so yeah, if she wants to strike with her, she could win that way. But I just see it being so clear just to get into the ground. I don't
Right.
see Lansberg having an answer for the takedown.
Right.
So for me, for her to make it a real easy night at the office, just close the distance and get it to the ground. You know?
For sure. All right. Moving up to the card. We have Nazim Sadykhov versus Evan Elder.
I'm going with Nazim Sadykhov by a very one-sided decision victory. Elder's very tough and durable, but I think Sadikov stand-up's gonna be the difference in this. That's pretty much all I got. I see Sadikov having his way on the feet. Like I said, Evan Elder, mad respect for that guy. He's tough, he's durable, but there's levels, and I think I see Sadikov having his way on the feet against Elder, getting that decision victory.
Yeah, I mean Sadykhov looked pretty damn good in his contender series fight. He's coming out of Sarah.
Hell yeah.
You know, that's where Weidman came from. Guys like Matt Serra, obviously. And you know, Aljamain Sterling, you know, all those guys, well-rounded guys who could put it together on the feet, put it together on the ground. And you know, Sadykhov being more of a striker, you know, he's getting a lot of good looks grappling wise. You know what I'm saying? You've seen that in his contender series fight. He was able to, you know, get takedowns and stay on top. Um, you look at a guy like Elder, well-rounded guy, but doesn't stand out in any aspect. You know what I'm saying? He could take it anywhere. He does have power though. And that's something you got to respect. He does have power. And if you look at both of them's resume, you know, kind of similar. Elder does have one fight in the UFC already. He took on like I think a couple days notice and was able to go up a weight class and last all 3 rounds. So that's something you gotta when you're looking at that, like I said, me and Harley look at a lot of stuff. When you're looking at like stuff like that, you know, you gotta understand this guy's gonna be in the fight the whole time. Whole time this guy's gonna be in the fight. And
Yeah,
Sadykhov does slow down a little bit at the end, but I think Sadykhov gets it done. He's just more cleaner in every aspect. Like we had that first fight, Clay versus Juancamilo, kind of the same fight here. You got a cleaner guy fighting a scrapper, you know, and I gotta go with the cleaner guy on this one.
Yeah, man. Like you said, Elder's tough. He's gonna be in a fight. Uh, Sadykhov does slow down a little bit. That's why all those reasons. That's why I pick him to stop Elder. You know, he's gonna be there for at least if Sadykhov does stop him, it'll be in the later round. But I see this one going to the judges. Uh, but I see Sadykhov give that one side decision maker. Wouldn't surprise if he wins at 30-27.
No doubt,
We'll
no
see.
doubt. All right, moving up the card, Jim Miller facing on, taking this on short notice, Alex Hernandez.
Yeah. Um, in my opinion, like you said, Hernandez is taking this fight on short notice. But in my opinion, on paper, this is one of the best fights in the card.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it. You got the veteran Jimmy Miller taking on Alex Hernandez. I'm going with the vet, the underdog. Give me a bark, Zach. Give me a bark. Bark like a little pit bull right here.
I ain't barking for you, motherfucker.
Oh, damn, bro. Yeah, I'm going with the dog. I'm going with the dog, Jim Miller, man, the veteran. Uh, I think his stand up gonna be the difference, baby. Even though he's got good BJJ, he's a BJJ black belt. That boy no purple belt, he's a black belt. Yeah, uh, he's a black belt. I see him having his real on his feet and winning this decision or getting a late TKO. Uh, Good stand up with vicious leg kicks. Keep that in mind. Jesus Christ, Jim Miller will fucking decapitate your leg. Just ask anybody. Vicious leg kick, very well rounded. Hernandez, a tough fighter, fun fighter to watch, really explosive, but he's taking this fight on short notice. Yeah, Hernandez is gonna come out. He's gonna throw some big shots. Possibly can Jim win a couple shots, but like I said, taking it on short notice. If Jim can weather the early storm, he'll take over and have his way, and ultimately win the decision. So
No
I'm
doubt.
going with the dog, Jim Miller, baby.
Man, I can't believe you asked me to bark for you, bro.
Yeah, bark like a dog. We're going with the dog. Yeah, bark.
You fucked me up with that one. All right. Yeah, Jim Miller, man, OG vet. You got Hernandez, who always starts off fast but kind of crashes at the end. Um, bro, I think the odds got it wrong on this one. They got Jim Miller as like almost a 2-1 underdog.
I'm
Um,
glad they do though. I'm really
hey,
glad they
me
do.
too. And you know, we got something for that.
Yeah, yeah,
Stay tuned. But look, Jim Miller has been known about this fight card for a while, right? Hernandez, for what we know, has known about this fight for 1 week, right? Hernandez, track record of starting off fast. He's got very good wins. He's knocked out Benil Dariush. You know what I'm saying? Dariush could be fighting for a title next. But anyways, long story short, Hernandez is good for 1 round. All right. Jim Miller is a vet. And if you start up here and you start, what I'm saying, coming down, he's gonna catch you. If you take him down, Jim Miller's dangerous. If you stand up, Jim Miller's dangerous. I know he's 39, but don't let that shit fool you. I got Jim Miller, underdog for sure. Wherever it goes, I see him finishing it in like second round.
yeah, man. And I want to say this: Jim Miller's old, but the guy's on a 3 fight win streak and 3 stoppages in a row. So
Yeah,
he ain't look. I know his last fight was against Donald Cowboy Cerrone, and we all know Cowboy's done. Shout out to Cowboy, man. The guy was tough as hell.
right.
But okay, you got Alexander Hernandez that's fought Cowboy. He didn't do that to Cowboy. Jim
Nah,
Miller got his ass out of there. And it wasn't hard either. You know, so and the guy even before Cowboy, like I mentioned, he's on a 3 fight win streak and all stoppages, 2 KOs and 1 submission, and he's a BJJ black belt. So the guy's well rounded. He's seen everything. You got Hernandez taking this fight on a week's notice. You gotta go with Jim Miller.
Right. And like, to put things in perspective, Jim Miller is like, that uncle you got that used to box in Golden Gloves. And like if you gotta call him, and you about to scrap, he's got your back.
Yeah,
You feel me?
yeah. Call up for Jim, man.
Yeah,
If you the
man.
Phillips spot in the car, call him for Jim.
Shout out to Uncle Jim, man. I think he gets it done in
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
bro. Gets us paid,
Not
man.
a, not
Hey,
Uncle Peyton, Uncle
now
Jim. If you know, you know.
now hey, if you know, you know. But on the other end, we gotta look at things both ways. If Alexander gets this done, I think he could finally get over that mental hurdle. Because the guy's up and down in his career. I think he can finally get over his mental hurdle. Take a fight on 1 week's notice. You beat Jim Miller. That puts you back. You know what I'm saying? But, I still got to go with Uncle Jim on this one.
Yeah, bark like a dog, Uncle Jim.
Damn. We're going to have to make that on a t-shirt, bro. All right. Moving up the card, we got William Knight versus Marcin Prachnio.
Yep. Kicking off the main card. William Knight versus Marcin Prachnio. So,
Hey,
yeah.
we fucked up that last name, but hey,
Hey, hey,
we've been
man.
winning, so it's all good.
I don't see this fight going to distance. I'm going with Knight by KO. Both guys throw big power shots. I see Knight catching him and getting the job done. He's a stronger, more explosive fighter and has fought better opposition. Look, so yeah, so I see Knight's power being the difference and Knight catching him. He doesn't have any wins by submission, but if he wants to get it to the ground, he can. You know what I'm saying? He can get it to the ground, stay top heavy, maybe land some ground and pound. But like I said, I see them getting into all the exchange and Knight just catching them on the chin and putting them to bed. So I'm going with Knight by KO.
Yo, like, listen, bro. Anybody who can bench 435, I ain't even gonna question you. I'm picking you to win. William Knight, if you look at him, he got muscles on muscles on muscles. And when you look at guys like that, they tend to gas out. This dude just different, bro. I don't know what the fuck he made of, but he just different. He don't get tired. And he might not be the most technical, bro, but he's just a dog, bro. And Marcin, you feel me? He was a big prospect coming in to UFC. Didn't quite hit his groove. You look at the histories, he's getting stopped in the first round, but you know what I'm saying, you still gotta respect that he has knockout power. He comes in pretty damn fast. And yeah, he's coming in with some shit too. If you're gonna bet something on this fight, in my opinion, I would bet it not to go to distance because these guys are going in there to kill each other, like bell to bell. And yeah, I gotta go with William Knight on this. He's had quite a bit of controversy with him. He missed weight by like 12 pounds. And then his next fight, he took a heavyweight. But we do our research over here. You feel me? That's why we be on our shit. And I did my research on William Knight. The reason why the weight missed, the man had COVID, took the shit on short notice, let the UFC know. Reason why he took the fight at heavyweight, still wasn't recovered. Can't train, could barely train for the last fight. You know what I'm saying? So I think mentally he's in a good spot right here. And yeah, I see him, getting first round, second round, KO, TKO, ground and pound, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Shout out to William Knight.
Hey, bro, that's another guy. You got Uncle Jim and in the fam, and then a guy who knows the guy who knows William Knight, so you got him in the bag too. You feel me? That's two solid guys,
Yeah, you got Uncle William on a barbecue pit, man, on Sunday.
straight up,
Yeah,
bro.
man.
Straight up.
Uh,
All right, moving on to the card, we have Josh Parisian versus Jamal Pogues.
yeah, I'm going with Pogues by decision or late stoppage. To me, he'll be in better shape. He's the faster fighter with more hand speed. His striking, specifically his boxing, will be the difference in this one. I definitely see him using his reach, reach advantage, and out striking Parisian. Um, like I said, he's got more hand speed. I think he'll be in better shape, and I just see him outboxing Parisian and get the win, man.
Yeah, I mean Parisian has like what 5 fights in the UFC, so he's coming in with the
Mhm.
experience gap. And anytime we have these guys coming in off of the Contender Series. It's tricky because we got a guy making our debut, and we got a guy 5 fights in and one has won a couple fights in the UFC. So you do got to respect that. But when I'm looking at the record, you lost to Parker Porter. Seen what happened to Parker Porter fighting a guy 5-3. You had a split decision over Martinez, who could have went the other way, and he's not even in the UFC anymore. Lost Dante Mays, and then you ground and pounded Alan Bode. That's a good win. But the other fights, you know what I'm saying? I'm not liking what I'm seeing. You look at a guy like Pogues, I like what I'm seeing with him. He took the Contender Series fight on short notice, was able to get to the ground, kind of control the fight from there. And when he was standing up, he's able to land some explosive strikes. And yeah, I just see him, Parisian is a guy that doesn't mind taking it down and like, ground and pounding you. And he has to come forward to land his shots. You know what I'm saying? If he comes forward, I see Jamal just taking him down, controlling the fight from there, and either getting a sub or a TKO on the ground.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah, but and I want to say this too. I think, like you said, Parisian, the UFC vet. He's had a good bit of fights in the UFC. But I see to me he's got gas tank issues, man.
Yeah,
And look, I'm not saying Jamal doesn't. We talk about heavyweights here.
right,
But I just see Jamal being in a little bit better shape, and I see him just you know pushing Parisian and you know and just getting the job done, man.
right. When you go to the gas pump, you feel me? You got, different types of gas to put in. My boy
Yeah,
Parisian going off at 87, and my boy Pogues coming off 89. You feel me?
yeah, yeah. Now don't put diesel in there. Just put gas.
Yeah. All right, moving up the card, we have Zach Pagua facing off with Jordan Wright. What do you have on this fight?
Yeah. Oh, I got Zach. Oh man, you crazy saying some shit off camera. I got Zach Pauga by KO. Um, uh, Jordan Wright been stopping his last 3 fights. Um, and I just see Jordan. I mean, I see Zach Pauga having his way on the feet, man, and catching Jordan Wright. Um, like I said, I see his striking being the difference. Um, Wright has been stopped in his last 3 fights. Zach Pauga got stopped in his last fight as well. But the difference for me, well, a big difference for me is Zach took some time off after getting stopped. Jordan Wright got stopped in October, and
Yep.
he's already, and it was a bad stop, and he's already coming back. Oh, I just, Jordan Wright's on a 3 fight losing streak for a reason, and I just see Zach catching him, man, and getting the job done. I really do. Um,
Well, I'm glad you got this much faith in me, bro.
of course, I got faith in you, bro.
All
Of
right.
course.
So breaking this fight down, super easy to me, man. We know Pogba from the Ultimate Fighter. We've seen what he can do at heavyweight, keyword heavyweight. Versus Usman, he wasn't looking bad against Usman until he got caught. You know what I'm saying? And when you're really a 205er fighting a heavyweight, that's probably gonna happen. You look at a guy like Wright, who was fighting at 185, and Wright is a fast starter, but when people bring the same energy to him, he doesn't reciprocate it back. And you got a 185er going to 205 and a heavyweight dropping down who had success at heavyweight to 205. You got a guy like Wright who's been stopped at middleweight quite a few times. You got a guy like Zach who can wrestle and got heavy hands. You know, shout out to all the Zachs in the world. You know what I'm saying? I got to ride with you on it.
Yeah.
I got Zach Pagua. He's a lock for me
By stoppers, right?
for sure.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Main event action, man. Main event action. We didn't know about this fight till about a week ago. This is supposed to be Talia
About a
Santos
week ago.
versus Erin Blanchfield, but now we got Jessica Andrade taking it on 1 week's notice facing off with the hot prospect, undefeated in the UFC, Erin Blanchfield.
Yeah, man. Like you said, we got former world champion Miss Jessica Andrade taking a fight on 1 week's notice against the hot prospect Miss Erin Lansberg. Man, so we talked about this yesterday, just you and I. Once I got all my picks locked in, called you, kind of discussed, what we were thinking, and I was leaning towards Andrade, but I was so undecided until I was going down Andrade's topology, and it dawned on me. I said, man, I said, I'm gonna tell our audience what I told you. I said, man, I said, I didn't realize, I said, I knew Andrade fought pretty recently, but it didn't register to me until yesterday that she was the one that beat the shit out of Lauren Murphy. I'm sorry, Lauren Murphy, I'm sure she's a nice girl. Lauren Murphy's had some pretty good fights in the UFC. But she beat the shit out of Lauren Murphy 3 weeks ago. Lauren Murphy was not so lucky 3 weeks ago. So, you know, when I saw that, and then I saw I would love to see Erin Blanchfield win this fight, but you got Jessica Andrade, former world champion, so much experience. It's for the who's who in the women's MMA. Like I said, former UFC world champion, really good striker. We saw what she did to Lauren Murphy, beat her to a pulp with a good ground game as well. So much experience. Um, this is by far Blanchfield's biggest test. You know, Blanchfield fought Molly McCann, who's had no ground game, and had her way against Molly McCann. Um, fought a lot of fighters with no ground game. Blanchfield's forte is getting to the ground, and if she can get it to the ground and establish some top control, she have a chance. But like I mentioned earlier, even if she does get it to the ground, Andrade has really good grappling as well. So it's not going to be easy, even if she does get it to the ground. If she gets to the ground, she have a chance. But I just see Jessica Andrade stand up being way too much for her. I don't see her getting an early stoppage. If she gets a stoppage, it'll be in the later rounds, somewhere between third, fourth, and fifth. Somewhere around there. But I just Andrade's experience and stand up is gonna be too much, in my opinion. Who I would like to see win this fight, I would love to see Blanchfield win this fight. And if she does find a way to win, let me tell you something. Erin Blanchfield's got a bright future regardless. But if she wins this fight, that's gonna open up a lot of eyes and a lot of doors for her. But I just think this is a little bit too much at this time for Erin Blanchfield. I'm going with Andrade by either late stoppage or decision victory, and her stand up being the difference. What you got in there?
All right, so we had a fight not too long ago. Guy took it on probably a week's notice and fought a prospect who was like 2 or 3-0 in the UFC. You recall that fight? Sean
Refresh my memory.
Strickland
Yeah,
versus Imavov. And
yeah.
if you remember correctly, I was like, Strickland got way too much experience for that boy. And what happened?
Okay, but if you remember correctly, the Black Beast got
I
stopped the
ain't
other
talking
night.
about that fight.
The
I'm
guy.
talking about a
No,
fight
we didn't.
similar to this. I'm talking about a
We're
fight similar
going.
to this because the Black Beast ain't got nothing to do with this.
We're
They
going to
fought
say
on
that.
scheduled time, you feel me? Strickland had 1 week's notice and was a vet and beat the guy all 5 rounds. You got Andrade taking on 1 week's notice, probably got more experience fighting at a high level than Strickland. And then you got Blanchfield, who's like 3 or 4 fights into the UFC.
Yeah,
Blanchfield, very good fighter. If Blanchfield wins this, it's gonna be like, damn, we knew she was good, but we ain't know she was that good. That's if she wins. Do I see that happening? No. Um, something that I peeped out when I was watching film, and Blanchfield does not move her head when she throws at all. does not move it at all. And when you
Yeah,
fight,
that ain't good.
no. And when you're fighting a girl like Andrade, not good, right? Andrade might not move her head, but we know Andrade is durable. We don't know how durable Blanchfield is. That's still a question. Um, when Blanchfield fought JJ Aldrich, she had a very hard time taking JJ down, right? I would say Andrade's takedown defense is way better than Aldrich's. So, this is going to be a fight where Blanchfield has leveled up in training and gets the job done and is able to just hold Andrade down and maybe get, like, I don't know. I feel like her path to victory would just be holding her down for 5 rounds. Um, but like Andrade, bro, it's hard to just write off Andrade. I see Andrade winning this one. Maybe late stoppage or decision. It just depends on how durable Blanchfield is. But like I said, she does not move her head when she strikes. She struggled getting Aldrich down to the ground. If she struggles with Andrade getting her down, she's gonna be forced to stand up with her. And if you don't have good defense standing up, but hey, one thing I do gotta say, Blanchfield's right kick, amazing.
Yeah. So
But
we'll see. And before we wrap this up and get them to the parlay, get our viewers to the parlay, I saw some people breaking down this fight and saying that Andrade is going to get Blanchfield out in 1 round. Listen, if Andrade gets her out of there, it won't surprise me. But I don't see her getting her out of there in 1 round.
no,
Blanchfield, I got too much respect for Blanchfield. Saying that Andrade
on a full camp
will
too,
get
like
her, yeah,
you know what
on
I'm
a
saying?
full camp. Been supposed to fight on this card. Look, to me, just in my opinion, to me, if you think Blanchfield's gonna get stopped in 1 round, that's kind of disrespectful for the Blanchfield.
Hell yeah.
You
Hell yeah.
you got to give more props than that. Look, could I see Andrade stopping her in the later rounds? Yeah, but she ain't gonna stop her in the first round. No,
Nah.
no way.
All right, so we pretty much agreed on the whole card, but two fights. And the two fights we disagreed on, you know what I'm saying? We had it either way. You feel me? It was a close fight to break down. I think it might have only been one fight, bro. Or
Yeah, I think it was one fight.
yeah. So I mean, rarely. I mean, for the last three cards, we've been kind of on the same page. Um, but one fight difference, and we both see that it can go either way. With that being said, if you stuck with us the whole time, watch the whole breakdown, or you fast forwarded to this part right here, all we ask is that you subscribe, like the video, and comment, you know what I'm saying, your picks. That's all we ask.
Also, also like the Bet on It MMA Facebook and Instagram page. There's Bet on It MMA Facebook and Instagram. Like both pages, and we're gonna sprinkle some extra parlays on that page. But the only way to get those extra parlays is to like the Bet on It MMA Facebook and Instagram page. We'll post those sometime later in the week, maybe today or on fight day. We'll post these things. Keep an eye open for that.
All right, so our lock parlay, you know what I'm saying? I got in early at good odds. Mauro Bueno Silva, minus 440 favorite. Jamal Pogues, minus 245 favorite. And Zach Pagua, minus 330 favorite. We all see these three guys, and girl, dominating their fights, clear cut victory. And with that, you have a plus 125. So whatever you put in, you get back plus a little bit more. So that's very good odds on locks, right? And like I said, if you follow us on Instagram, you follow us on Facebook, you're gonna get three more parlays that we feel have a very good chance of hitting. Just follow Bet on It MMA on Instagram, Bet on It MMA on Facebook, and we'll drop not just the lock parlay, but three more, and this is all for free. All we ask is that y'all like the page, like the YouTube page, subscribe, all that stuff, and we're gonna keep delivering for y'all. We haven't failed y'all yet. You know what I'm saying? We've been consistent. We got this.
So it's like you telling me if they follow us on Facebook and Instagram, we're gonna drop 3 parlays, 3 other parlays, plus the live parlay.
What's that?
So you telling our audience, if they like our Facebook and Instagram page, if they follow us on Facebook and Instagram, we're gonna drop the live parlay plus 3 more parlays. That's 4 free parlays if they follow us. 4.
4, man. 4. And we'll send you a fucking birthday card on your birthday.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you can't beat that, man.
Come on, man.
Look, we're doing all this for free. Like we said, all we ask, like and subscribe up to the pages, watch the videos, shout us out, do all that for us. And also, listen, also before we get out of here, when you win big, because you're gonna win big with us, tag us in your bet tickets. Tag us on Tag us on Instagram, Facebook. We'll post you on the story. Shout us out, man.
Yeah, man.
Shout us out with your winnings. Post your tickets. Give us the receipt. Show us that you win, man. And
Right.
we'll shout you out.
And before we close it out, you know what I'm saying? I got to give 2 shout outs. Shout out to Uncle Peyton and shout out to Cousin Garrett. And with that being said,
Yeah.